Hey everybody, we're back here. John Pollock alongside John Ramdeen and Robin Black. The UFC has a rare Sunday night card coming up Sunday night with our friends in Halifax, Nova Scotia, taking in two interesting fights that head up this card. In the main event, we have Derek Lewis and Travis Browne, and then Johnny Hendricks moving up to 185 pounds to take on Hector Lombard. And let's start with the main event. Robin, you got to spend some time with Travis Browne. This is a very important fight for Travis. I mean, we have certainly not seen him fighting at the level he was a number of years ago. And he's taking on an opponent in Derek Lewis, who's riding a very good win streak, but this is a major test for Derek Lewis as well. And given this is 5 rounds, I think people are going to be watching Johnny Hendricks and Travis Browne under a microscope on Sunday.
They are. And Travis Browne is under a microscope. We're weird. As an audience, we're strange people. We do strange things. His coach, we look at that. Who he's dating and falling in love with, we look at that. We read something that happened in his personal life that turned out to be 100% not true, and we're obsessed with that. He's a brilliant fighter. He's a brilliant heavyweight fighter who started fighting really only 7 years ago in jiu-jitsu class, 8 years ago, and has become one of the best fighters in the world. He's also highly intelligent. He's a very sweet guy to be around. I was filming this piece, you can find it on the UFC's YouTube channel, with him. And he was one of these guys who in the room for 3 or 4 hours, he was trying to entertain the camera guys. He was trying to entertain the people that were there for Xbox. He was just trying to make sure everybody was having a good time. Very sweet guy and very, very, very intelligent. Something we don't get to see often about him. He has a high-level understanding of strategy and going in and having the right moment in a fight. I became a big Travis Browne fan from being around him. But you see, when you are one of the most famous people in the world, never mind you're dating one of the most famous people in the world, you see the amount of shit that you deal with. And you have to carry that into a fight with a guy who cuts to 265 pounds and knocks people out like crazy.
What's ridiculous is a lot of people look at Travis Browne's losses. The guy lost to Cain Velasquez, lost to Fabrizio Verdum. Those guys were the UFC heavyweight champions. Andrei Arlovski, I understand, when a heavyweight lands, that knows how to punch, lands on you, chances are you're going to fall down to the ground. Andrei Arlovski, also a former champion. So you look at his losses, it's the heavyweight division. He's facing some of the most skilled fighters in the class. So we got to give some of these guys a little break when it comes to the losses.
Yeah, a lot of the microscope he's under is things outside of fighting even. The things his coach says to him that he and his team understand. That's a whole other thing. I mean, the fight itself between him and Derek Lewis is a really cool fight. It's the kind of fight in Halifax, you're in the audience, they like to drink out there and raise a ruckus. And by the time you get to 2 heavyweights, you've seen awesome Canadians that you've been screaming for. You've seen former champ Johnny Hendricks try to prove that he can do it against former Bellator champ Hector Lombard, and then you see 2 heavyweights go in there. But on a smarter level, Derek Lewis is also much smarter than anyone will give him credit for. Throwing punches to get to grappling positions, understanding how to make people carry his weight in new ways for a heavyweight, finding the times and the lanes to be able to punch somebody as they move. He's a very smart guy. Travis has studied him very hard. When I went to show him the footage, he'd already understood himself and understood his opponent.
With Johnny Hendricks, this will be his first fight competing at 185 pounds. This comes fairly quickly after that loss to Neil Magny. Hendricks had a really rough 2016 with 3 losses. Part of me, when this fight was first announced, I just wish he had given himself maybe a longer period of time to get ready to fight at 185. Nonetheless, here he is, some 7 weeks after he fought Neil Magny at the new weight class, and certainly I think that will take a big burden off of Johnny Hendricks for fight week. He stated earlier this week he was at 195 pounds at the start of fight week. You hope that's true. You hope that he's not
Didn't he say that a bunch of times,
Well,
though?
listen, we will
6
see what happens
pounds
on Saturday. He actually has an extra day to get on the scales. But certainly Johnny Hendricks, he's looking for new life at middleweight, much like Hector Lombard returned to middleweight in his last fight. We haven't seen him since that Dan Henderson.
Yeah, I love this fight. Just, again, because you have 2 serious competitors. Before they were in mixed martial arts, Johnny Hendricks, the wrestler, Hector Lombard, the judoka, and then they dedicated the same amount of time they dedicated to their chosen traditional martial arts to the world of mixed martial arts. And we've seen Johnny Hendricks in some of his great moments. A lot of people feel that he beat George St. Pierre, he beat Robbie Lawler. And I think when we look at the last number of fights, a couple of roadblocks in there. So Johnny Hendricks just has to push that out of the way. Forget about those. We're starting new. Hector Lombard, assignment number 1. You go out, you dust Hector Lombard, you knock this guy out like you knocked out Martin Kampmann, people are going to forget about all the times you missed weight. And then you're injected into the 185-pound conversation. I know that's easier said than done because we know what Hector Lombard's capable of, but Johnny Hendricks has an opportunity here.
Yeah, and it's what he's going to do with it, you know. You've heard this a million times. Baseball is 90% mental, you know. Fighting is 90% mental. Once you get to the level these guys are at, it's mental. It is. You both know how to punch and kick and fight, be in shape. And the mental isn't just how are you in the fight, it's how are you leading up to the fight. How are you viewing the fight? How are you taking care of your body? You know, Johnny Hendricks feels like ever since kind of that, you know, he went from the top and then he hasn't been able to stay there. It feels like he's been finding ways to make his life easier. 185 pounds, that'll be easier. I won't have to diet as hard. I can stay at home and just train there because that'll be easier on my family, which is easier on me. He's moved towards finding ways to take, you know, I know how to fight. You know, all I got to do is get in shape. That's easier. You know, even sitting there and thinking, no longer maybe thinking about the title, I just got to go in. He's making his life easier, and that's understandable. We're human beings. This is a guy. This is a father and a friend and everything. But you want to be fighting the best guys in the world in the hurt business, you know, in an environment where you're going to get hurt. You have to be after it. You have to be hungry, starving, ravenous to win and to perform, and he just doesn't seem to be there.
It's going to be, to me, maybe the most important fight for Johnny Hendricks because it's going to dictate what his future is in mixed martial arts. We could be looking at his 4th straight loss, or we could see a guy just finding new life at 185 pounds. I think it's maybe the most interesting aspect of this card. Coming up on Sunday night from Halifax, Nova Scotia, and we'll be chatting about that card throughout the week here on Fight Network.